Hello students, today we are going to start chapter number 4, Moving Charges and Magnetism. Now students, in chapter number 1 and 2 we have studied about stationary charges. In chapter number 3 we studied about the charge in motion and the related concept, that is electric current, drift velocity, etc. Now in this chapter also we are going to study about the moving charges and the related facts. Means when the charge they move, there is a magnetism around it. Students, in introduction part it is given that electricity and magnetism, they were known for more than 2000 years, but before 200 years ago it was realized that they were related to each other. Means electricity and magnetism, they are related to each other. But before 200 years ago, both these electricity and magnetism, they were studied as an individual branches. Now in 1820, a scientist named Oersted, he found that the needle placed in a magnetic compass, that is a magnetic needle, it gets deflected when it is brought near a current carrying wire. Here a figure shows that there is a straight conductor carrying current, and when the magnetic compass is brought near to it, a needle gets deflected. And how it is deflected, that is shown here. When the magnetic compass is placed here, needle is pointing in this manner, that is along the tangent to the curved path. When the compass is brought at this place, once again you can see the needle is along the tangent to the circle. So Oersted concluded that when the charge are in motion, we call that as a current only, that produces a magnetic field surrounding the space. Means if there is a current in a wire, then that current produces a magnetic field in the form of circle, and that magnetic field which is produced due to the current affects the needle placed in a magnetic compass. Now in 1864, the laws obeyed by electricity and magnetism were unified. Means earlier electricity and magnetism, they were studied as an individual branches, but with this discovery, these two branches now they were unified, and the other scientists also contributed in that. Here the name is given Maxwell. So for unification of electricity and magnetism is credited to Maxwell. Students, this image is of a scientist named Oersted, who initially observed that the needle of a magnetic compass gets deflected when it is brought near to the current carrying wire. And this image shows that how this needle gets deflected around the current carrying wire. Here you can see the different positions of magnetic compass, but for each and every position you can see that the needle always remains tangent to the curved path, and that shows that when the current in a straight wire is there, then it produces a magnetic field which is of the shape of circle. That is, magnetic field is circular around the wire. Now students, as we know that Maxwell has credited for the unification of electricity and magnetism as a one branch, because he has made many experiments and given many laws which are related to electricity and magnetism, and they showed that they are connected with each other. Means electricity and magnetism, they cannot be separated from each other, they are interconnected with each other. Afterwards, it was also realized that even light is an electromagnetic waves. Earlier, the studies of light were made, but it is not known that even light is an electromagnetic waves. So after that, it was found that even light is an electromagnetic waves due to study of this electricity and magnetism as a one branch. Now, Hertz, again it is a name of scientist. He discovered radio waves. Students, in a spectrum of electromagnetic waves, there are different layers. Different layers are named different names according to their wavelength or frequency of waves. So here radio waves, they were discovered by Hertz, and these radio waves, they were produced, that is experimentally generated by J.C. Bose and G. Marconi at the end of 19th century. Now students, if the field or a current is coming out of the plane of the paper, then it is denoted by this symbol, and if the current or a field is moving inside the plane of the paper, then it is denoted by this type of symbol. Here it is a dot, which means emerging or coming out, and here it is a cross, which means it is going into the plane. Now topic number 4.2, magnetic force. Now students, if there is a source, then there is a field that we have studied in chapter 1. We have studied in chapter 1 that electric field is due to a stationary charge. Means here this stationary charge is a source, and that source produces an electric field. Similarly, if there is a magnetic field, then there must be some source producing that magnetic field. Students, Oersted simply noticed that the magnetic needle, which is kept in a magnetic compass, gets deflected when it is brought near to the current carrying wire. But the concept of the field was given by Faraday, and that concept was used for the unification of electricity and magnetism by Maxwell. Now, magnetic field and Lorentz force. Now students, whenever a charged particle which is in motion, when it passes through both electric field and magnetic field, means if in a space there exists, suppose, electric field also and magnetic field also. And if a charged particle enters in such fields, then the force acting on that moving charge is given by F is equal to force due to electric field and force due to magnetic field. So here this is a resultant force due to electric field and magnetic field on a charged particle which is in motion. Now students, we already know that the electric force acting on the charged particle is given by Q into E. This we have studied in chapter number 1. But when the charge is in motion, even the force due to magnetic field also acts on it, and that force is given by QV cross B. Here QV means it is a charged particle having some velocity, and in a magnetic field there exists force on it. So here it is a cross product of these two vectors, means velocity vector and magnetic field vector. This cross product gives the force on the moving charge. And so to obtain that resultant force F, here Q is taken out common. So it is here and remained inside these terms. This force was given by a scientist named Lorentz, and so it is called Lorentz force. Students, always remember that this magnetic force only acts when the charged particle is in motion. If the charged particle is stationary, then this magnetic force will not act on it. Electric force acts on a stationary charged particle as well as the charged particle which is in motion. Now students, whenever there is a cross product between two vector quantities, then the resultant quantity, its direction is given by right hand thumb rule. Here a figure shows that how can you get the direction of this force. You can see that if the velocity is in this direction, magnetic field is along this direction, both velocity and magnetic field, they are in a plane, in this plane, and so the force acting on this charged particle will be perpendicular to that plane in which this velocity vector and magnetic field vector lies. So it is clear that force is perpendicular to magnetic field also, as well as it is perpendicular to velocity of the charged particle. That is, we can say that the force is perpendicular to the plane formed by velocity and the magnetic field. Now students, we have seen that the magnetic force is given by Q V cross B, and whenever we remove this cross product, we put sin theta. Here this theta is nothing but it is the angle between velocity and the magnetic field. This n cap shows the direction of the force. N means it is normal to the plane. So it is clear that when both velocity and magnetic field, if they are parallel to each other, then angle between V and B will be 0. So in that case, the force acting on the charged particle will be 0. Students, now magnetic field is a new physical quantity and its SI unit is Tesla. Capital T is the symbol for it, but Tesla is a large unit, and so generally small unit is used for magnetic field. But remember, this small unit is not SI unit. A smaller unit called Gauss is often used, but whenever the value is given in Gauss, that has to be converted into Tesla. When there is a calculation in a numericals, we have to use the Tesla unit and not the Gauss. And 1 Gauss is equal to 10 raised to minus 4 Tesla. So whenever the value is given in Gauss, we have to convert it into Tesla, which is the SI unit. Students, here it is given that the earth also behaves as a magnet and its magnetic field is around 3.6 into 10 raised to minus 5 Tesla. Here in this image you can see a velocity vector, a magnetic field vector, and if you will curve your finger towards B side of your right hand, then the direction of the force will be along the thumb. Students, remember, you have to curve your finger from V to B side. So when you will curve your finger from V to B side, the thumb will show the direction of the force acting on a charged particle. And if the charged particle is positive, then the force is in the upward direction. But if the charged particle is negative, then the force will be in opposite direction. Even you can apply the right hand rule method in this way also. You can see here the thumb shows the direction of velocity, then the next finger shows the direction of magnetic field, and the middle finger will show the direction of force. Even this is the next method how to use the right hand rule. Here you can see the velocity is along the thumb, then magnetic field is towards the finger when your right hand is open in this way, and so the force is coming out of the palm. From the center of the palm, the force will be normal to the palm. So this is also one of the method. So students, these are different method how you can get the direction of the force using right hand. Now about magnetic force on a current carrying wire. Now students, we know that if a charged particle is in motion and if it enters in a magnetic field, then the force acts on it, and that force is given by this formula, that is F is equal to QV cross B. Now consider a conductor whose cross sectional area is A and its length is small l, and the current is moving in a conductor. Now suppose if in this conductor there are n number of mobile charge carriers. We know that in a conductor, free charge particles, there are not one or two, there are many free charge particles, and the current is due to those free charge particles. So here also, in this much part of a conductor, suppose the total number of mobile charge carriers are capital N. In that case, the force acting, that is total force acting on these charge particles, is given by F is equal to N Q V cross B. If it is a single charge, or if there is a single charge, then the force will be only this much. But as there are n number of charge particles, the force will act on that all the charge particles which are free. So here this F is a resultant force or the total force acting on all those charge particles. Let us give this equation number 1. Students, we know that whenever the charge particles move in a conductor, their velocity is drift velocity, and so here velocity is taken as Vd, means it is a drift velocity. Now let us consider the concept of volume. Now small n, here this small n is nothing but the number of free charge per unit volume, means here this conductor is shown whose cross sectional area is given as well as its length is given. So area into length will give us volume, and in that much volume the total number of free charges are this denoted by capital N, and so here this small n is nothing but it is a number density of charge particles which are free, means it is number of free charge per unit volume. Now what is V? V is equal to area into length, so we have kept A into L in place of V. Now making the subject capital N, that is total number of charge particles in terms of its number density. So N, capital N is equal to NaL. Let us give this equation number 2. Now using 2 in equation number 1, here in place of this N we will put NaL. So now we get force F is equal to NaL Q V cross B. Students, we have studied about the current density in chapter 3, and the relation of current density and drift velocity is given as J is equal to N QVD. Here Q is a charge particle. Also J is equal to I by A. So J is equal to current per unit cross sectional area. Again we have studied this in chapter 3. So now making I subject in this equation, we will get I is equal to NQVD into A. So using this equation number 4 in equation number 3, that is in place of this N, Q, VD and A, we can put I. So that will become I, remained is L, so it is here, and cross B which is here. So finally we get the formula for the force acting on a current carrying wire. Students, now you can see that the force on a current carrying wire in a magnetic field. So F is equal to IL cross B. So from the concept of a charged particle having velocity in a magnetic field to the concept a current carrying wire in a magnetic field. Students, here this formula is for a straight wire carrying current, but if the wire carrying current is arbitrary like this, so in such wire the current flowing will be same to each and every part, but the L length vector will be different. You can see for this much part the length is like this, so its vector will be along this line. If we consider this much part, then the vector L will be along this direction. So we can say that IL will be different for different parts. So for such cases, what we will do? We will obtain the force on a small element, small current element, that is ideal in a magnetic field. So obtaining that force for that small current element in a magnetic field, and then we will add all that types of small elements and we get the resultant force. Addition of these small elements is nothing but it is integration. Here we have used the summation of all such small elements and force acting on that, but finally it results in integration of that small elements. Example number 4.1, it is quite easy. Students, here a conductor, that is a current carrying wire, is shown in a magnetic field. You can see the magnetic field is shown by cross, and cross means magnetic field is going inside the plane, it is moving inside the plane normally. So if we want to put this current carrying wire stationary in air, then we know that there must be some other force acting on it in the upward direction, because this wire has a mass, and due to its mass one force will be definitely acting on it towards downward direction, that is due to gravitational force, and the other force is required to balance it, and that is due to magnetic field. And so if both these forces, that is gravitational force and magnetic force, if they are balanced, then the wire can remain stationary. Here mass of the wire is given, length of the wire is given, current flowing in a wire, that is also given, and we want to find the required magnetic field to balance the wire in air. That means to keep that wire stationary in the air. So it is clear that the upward force should be equal to downward force. What is upward force? It is due to magnetic field, and downward force is always gravitational force. Gravitational force is mg, and this force, magnetic force, is IL cross B. We know that it is IL cross B. But students, if these two vectors, they are perpendicular to each other, then simply we can take ILB. It is because we know that whenever we remove the cross product, there is a sin theta. You can see here there is a sin theta, and we know that if both the vectors are perpendicular to each other, then theta will be 90 and sin 90 is 1. So here also, as these two are perpendicular to each other, these two quantities, that is current element and magnetic field, they are perpendicular to each other, we can simply write this as ILB. The magnitude of force is simply ILB. So here we have taken that because it is given in the figure that this current and the magnetic field, they are perpendicular to each other. Magnetic field is moving in a downward direction which is normal to the plane, and so it is perpendicular to the current carrying element. Now making the subject B, we get B is equal to mg upon IL. Using all the given values, we will get the value of magnetic field in Tesla. So B is obtained to be 0.65 Tesla. Students, whenever you put the values, this value should be in SI system. Here mass is given in gram, so we have to convert that gram to kilogram. Dividing this by 1000, we will get it as 0.2, and so here when we have kept the value of mass, we have taken 0.2, it is 0.2 kg. Now example number 4.2. This type of examples can be asked only in MCQ or in 1 mark questions. Here in figure you can see that the magnetic field is along the y direction. It is along this direction. Velocity is shown here, which is along positive x direction. So if the magnetic field is along the positive y direction, velocity is along the positive x direction, and if a proton is kept in the magnetic field having velocity v, then the force acting on that proton having velocity v in a magnetic field B will be along the positive z direction. Students, you can easily check by using right hand rule. You have to simply curve your finger of right hand from V towards B, that is from x axis towards y axis. So curve your finger from x to y axis in this way. Now the thumb shows the direction of the resultant force, and so the force on the positive charge will be along the positive z direction. But if the charge is negative, then simple, it will be reverse. That means force will be towards negative z direction. So simply by applying the right hand thumb rule, or sometimes it is called right hand screw rule, if you will rotate the screw in this direction, then you will know that the screw will come out of the surface, and if you will rotate the screw in this way clockwise, then the screw will move inside the plane. So that shows the direction. I hope you understood these topics. So go through the video once or twice. If you are not able to understand any topic, you will definitely understand it. Write these notes in a fair notebook and do your work regularly.